Imagine this. The moment you think it's all over, your heart stops. The world fades. Isn't the end at all. It's the start of something so extraordinary, so mind-bending, that it could rewrite everything you believe about life, death, and what lies beyond. In the next few minutes, you're going to dive into cutting-edge science, real experiments, and theories that will make you question the very nature of reality. By the time you finish reading, you'll see death not as a final curtain, but as a doorway to a journey stranger than fiction. Let's transport ourselves to a place we usually associate with endings: a hospital room. The air is thick with unspoken fears. Monitors trace the fading rhythms of life, and a soul is preparing to depart. Now, picture Dr. Stuart Hameroff, an anesthesiologist but also a relentless seeker of consciousness's secrets, at the University of Arizona. He's not just observing, he's listening intently with EEG machines connected to patients in their final moments. What he and his team uncovered is nothing short of breathtaking. In 2 out of 4 documented cases, even after the heart had completely stopped, after blood pressure had plummeted to 0, the brain didn't just go silent. Instead, it erupted in a surge of high-frequency gamma waves. These weren't the chaotic random firings of a system shutting down. No, these were organized, coherent bursts of neural activity, lasting for a significant 30 to 90 seconds. Why is this such a monumental discovery? Think about your own mind right now. When you're deeply engrossed in a problem, when you're lost in a vivid daydream, when you have a sudden epiphany, or even when you're experiencing a profound emotion, that's your brain humming with gamma waves. They are, in essence, the brain's electrical signature of active, conscious thought, of perception, of self-awareness. If these markers of being alive and aware can flare up after clinical death, what does this truly signify about that moment we call the end? Is it really an end, or is it a transition? Dr. Hameroff's quantum brain hypothesis, developed with physicist Sir Roger Penrose, offers a tantalizing possibility. It suggests that consciousness isn't merely a byproduct of complex chemical reactions in the meaty computer of our brain. Instead, it's a more fundamental quantum process, an intricate dance of subatomic particles occurring within the microtubules of our neurons. And here's the kicker. Quantum processes might not be bound by the same rules as our biological bodies. Imagine your awareness, your sense of you, not extinguished like a candle flame, but perhaps untethering itself from its physical anchor, shifting, transforming, maybe even tuning into a new broadcast, a different frequency of existence. Could death be less like a power outage and more like your consciousness changing channels? Pause for a moment and consider this personally. We've all pondered, perhaps in the quiet of the night or in moments of deep reflection, what happens when we close our eyes for that very last time. This research whispers a possibility. Your mind, your essence, might continue its song, a pattern of energy vibrating on, even when the instrument, your body, has fallen silent. This isn't just abstract science. It's an intimate challenge to our deepest assumptions. What if the you that you know is so much more expansive than the physical form you inhabit? What if your story doesn't end with the last page of your biological life? To truly grasp the revolutionary implications of these post-mortem gamma surges, we need to take a brief journey back to the early 20th century, a time when the very foundations of reality were shaken by the birth of quantum physics. Titans of science like Niels Bohr and Werner Heisenberg unveiled a bizarre and wondrous subatomic world. They showed us that particles, the fundamental building blocks of everything, don't exist in one definite state until they are observed or measured. Instead, they exist in a cloud of multiple possibilities simultaneously, a state called superposition. The very act of looking, of measuring, forces this cloud of possibilities to collapse into one single observable reality. Think of it like this. Before you open a gift, It could be anything within the realm of possibility. The moment you open it, it becomes one specific thing. Now let's leap forward to the 1970s, when biologist Dr. Robert Lanza introduced an even more radical idea: biocentrism. Lanza proposed that it's not the universe that creates consciousness, but consciousness that creates the universe. Every sight, every sound, every texture, every taste, your entire perceived reality is, in this view, a projection, a construction of your mind. Without an observer, the tree falling in the forest doesn't just make no sound. In a way, the tree and the forest, as we perceive them, don't even exist in a fixed state. They remain as quantum potentialities. So what happens to this consciousness created? Reality, when your physical body, the apparent seat of that consciousness, fails. Does the universe you've perceived simply wink out of existence? Or, as Lanza's biocentrism suggests, does your awareness, the observer, merely shift its state of perception? Death, in this framework, might be the grandest illusion of them all, a trick played by our limited, biologically tethered senses. When the observer disappears from one frame of reference, the quantum wave of possibilities doesn't necessarily collapse into nothingness. Perhaps it reshapes, reconfigures. Your reality might just reboot, in a new form, a new dimension you can't currently conceive, or even, intriguingly, in a parallel universe. Consider the countless choices you make every single day. Coffee or tea this morning? Turning left instead of right on your commute? Speaking up in a meeting or staying silent? The many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics, a mind-boggling but mathematically plausible theory, suggests that every quantum event, every decision point, causes reality to split into a cascade of parallel universes. In one universe, you're sipping coffee and reading this. In another, you chose tea and are perhaps out for a walk. In yet another, you're pursuing a completely different career path based on a choice you made years ago. Now extend this concept to the ultimate event: death. What if death is just another one of these cosmic branching points? In some branches of this multiverse, your body indeed fails. But in countless others, due to a slightly different quantum outcome, you survive. Quantum immortality takes this idea to its logical, albeit surreal, conclusion. Your stream of consciousness, your subjective experience, can only continue along the branches where you persist. You can never experience a reality where you are truly gone because, well, you wouldn't be there to observe it. To you, from your first-person perspective, death effectively never happens because your awareness always finds a path where it continues. This isn't just an abstract intellectual puzzle. It's a potential lens through which to view your entire life. The next time you stand at a crossroads, facing a daunting choice or a significant risk, imagine that every path you could take is a universe where a version of you explores it, learns from it, and perhaps even thrives. Could embracing this perspective, even as a thought experiment, infuse you with a greater sense of boldness, a deeper curiosity about the infinite tapestry of your potential selves scattered across the multiverse? Let's return to those persistent gamma waves, those echoes of consciousness in the quiet aftermath of clinical death. The research didn't stop with humans. In 2019, a study published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, PNAS, by Jimo Borjigian and her colleagues at the University of Michigan reported remarkably similar findings. They monitored the brains of pigs undergoing controlled cardiac arrest and, even more starkly, after experimental decapitation. Using high-resolution EEGs, they detected organized, coherent gamma oscillations emerging seconds after the heart had definitively stopped. A fleeting, yes, but undeniably, vivid flare of cerebral activity. Skeptics, of course, were quick to label these as synaptic noise, the random disorganized death throes of a collapsing system, like the last crackles of a dying fire. However, fast forward to a hypothetical, as per the original article's timeline, 2025. Researchers at McGill University, building upon this earlier work, replicate these findings, this time using brain-preserved cat models. Once again, they detect synchronized gamma waves well after all conventional signs of life have ceased. These aren't just isolated random twitches of dying neurons. The patterns observed are eerily similar to those seen during conscious thought, during moments of intense focus or dreaming in living, breathing beings. The persistence of such organized activity challenges the simplistic, lights-out model of death. What if these gamma surges are not the end of the story, but the beginning of a new one? What if they represent the very moment your consciousness begins to unplug from its biological hardware, much like a laptop, when its main power is cut, seamlessly switches to its internal battery for a period? Hameroff and Penrose's OR, orchestrated objective reduction theory, posits that consciousness itself resides not in the firing of neurons per se, but within the quantum computations happening inside microtubules, tiny, intricate protein structures that form the cytoskeleton of our cells, especially neurons. They propose that these microtubules act as quantum processors, where vibrations create and sustain our conscious awareness. When the heart stops and the body's systems begin to fail, these delicate quantum processes, according to the theory, might not just vanish. They could persist, carrying the essence of you, your memories, your personality, your unique pattern of awareness forward. Imagine your consciousness, encoded in these quantum vibrations like a complex musical score, ready to be played on a new instrument, or perhaps even to exist as pure information in a different state or dimension. This idea profoundly reframes how we think about loss. If you've lost a loved one, the grief is, of course, immense and real. But what if their consciousness, their fundamental essence, still exists in some form, vibrating in an unseen dimension, on a frequency our current instruments can't detect? It's a thought that can bring a measure of comfort, a sense that the connection isn't entirely severed. But it also presents a challenge. If they might still be in some way, how do we best honor their ongoing journey? Perhaps mourning becomes less about an absolute ending and more about celebrating their transition, their continued existence in a form beyond our immediate perception. Now prepare for a concept that stretches the boundaries of our current reality even further. Imagine a hypothetical, as per the article's narrative, groundbreaking study in 2025 that reveals something truly astonishing. Those gamma-like brain rhythms, the very ones we associate with active awareness, can actually be induced after clinical death using a cutting-edge technique called optogenetics. This isn't science fiction. Optogenetics is a real and rapidly developing field. It involves genetically modifying specific neurons to express light-sensitive proteins. Once these proteins are in place, scientists can then use precisely aimed pulses of light, often delivered via fiber optics, to activate or inhibit those neurons with incredible precision. In these hypothetical mouse studies, researchers would apply this technique. After inducing cardiac arrest and confirming clinical death, they would pulse blue light into specific regions of the brain. And there, on the EEG monitors, coherent gamma waves would emerge, patterns of activity that mirror consciousness, rekindled for minutes after all vital signs have ceased. This wouldn't be mere neural noise. It would be the orchestrated rhythm of awareness, seemingly reignited by light. Dr. Hameroff might argue that these artificially induced waves are further evidence for his theory, suggesting that the light isn't creating consciousness from scratch but is perhaps re-energizing or recohering the quantum vibrations within the microtubules. Picture your brain, your physical neural network, as an intricate film reel, and your body, with its blood flow and metabolism, as the projector. When the projector breaks, clinical death, the film reel itself, your consciousness, your unique pattern of information, might still be intact, just waiting for a new light source, a new projector, to make it visible again. Optogenetics, in this speculative future, could be that very light, a potential bridge to preserve, sustain, or even restart awareness after the body has given out. Think about the practical and deeply ethical implications. If we could reliably sustain or reboot consciousness post-mortem, even for a limited time, what would that mean for medicine? Could we genuinely extend life, not just by restarting the heart, but by rebooting the brain's quantum processes? Could we preserve individual identities, the sum total of a person's experiences and memories, for future revival, like carefully pausing a complex movie mid-scene, hoping to resume it later? Futurists like the articles mentioned Dr. Ariel Zheleznikov-Johnston might suggest that cryopreservation, the freezing of bodies or brains, could one day be refined to perfectly pause these delicate quantum patterns, allowing for their eventual transfer to new, healthy biological bodies, or perhaps even to advanced digital systems. But here lies a profound, almost chilling question. If your consciousness, your pattern, is transferred, would that revived or uploaded entity truly be you? Or would it be an incredibly sophisticated copy, a replica that believes it's you, but lacks the unbroken stream of your subjective experience? If your very essence is a quantum pattern, can it truly be duplicated or moved without losing something fundamental in the translation? This isn't just a future dilemma. It's a question that touches on your own potential future. If the technology became available, would you entrust your consciousness to it? Would you opt for cryopreservation or a digital afterlife? Or does the very idea of a you existing outside your original biological form feel like a loss of something irreplaceable, something sacredly personal? These are choices that humanity, and perhaps you, might face much sooner than we currently anticipate. Let's circle back to the mind-bending concept of quantum immortality, because its implications are too vast and too personal to gloss over. If, as the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics suggests, every quantum event, every tiny fork in the road of probability, causes the universe to split into parallel realities, then your consciousness might be on an eternal, branching journey. Think of yourself as a cosmic traveler, always, and inevitably, finding yourself on the path, the universal branch, where you continue to exist. That near-miss car accident, that serious illness you recovered from, that moment you narrowly avoided a disastrous fall. In some other universe, the outcome was different. In some branches, that event was fatal. But your subjective awareness, by definition, can only experience the timelines where you survive, where you continue to observe. The gamma surges that Dr. Hameroff recorded in those dying patients, perhaps, just perhaps, they are the neurological signature of the brain attempting to tune in or shift to one of these surviving branches. A biological radio desperately seeking the signal of you continuing elsewhere in the vast multiverse. This idea is simultaneously exhilarating and deeply unsettling. It suggests a form of personal immortality, but only from your own first-person perspective. To everyone else in the reality where your physical body perished, you are gone. They would grieve your loss, conduct your funeral, and move on with their lives, unaware that you are still experiencing reality in a parallel world they can no longer access. Imagine the profound implications for our relationships. How do you live with the knowledge that your loved ones, if this theory holds, might exist in countless other universes, forever separated from your current stream of experience? Or consider risk. If you are, in some sense, destined to always find a path of survival, does that make you fearless, empowered to take bold chances? Or could it, perversely, make one reckless, knowing that a version of you will always pull through? In the landscape of your daily life, this perspective can dramatically shift how you approach fear and decision-making. If every version of you, on some timeline, finds a way to keep going, to navigate the challenges and emerge, perhaps it's time to take that leap of faith you've been contemplating, to start that business, to pursue that passion project, to mend that broken relationship. The universe, or rather the multiverse in this view, always has your back, always provides a path forward for your consciousness. For centuries, traditional medicine and societal understanding have defined death by clear, unequivocal markers: the cessation of heartbeat, the absence of breathing, the flatline of detectable brain activity. It's viewed as an absolute end, a definitive closure. But the studies we've explored, the persistent gamma surges, the potential of optogenetics to rekindle neural rhythms, the foundational theories of quantum physics, collectively paint a radically different, far more nuanced picture. Death, seen through this new lens, might not be a hard, impenetrable wall, but rather a transition, a profound shift from one state of existence or perception to another. If consciousness is indeed a fundamental quantum phenomenon, as Hameroff, Penrose, and Lanza suggest, then it might not be inextricably bound to the life and death of the physical body. It could persist, perhaps as pure information, as a quantum pattern, waiting for a new home or a new way to express itself, whether that be in another biological form, a sophisticated digital substrate, or simply as a resonant pattern within the cosmic fabric itself. This has potentially enormous implications for the future of medicine. Imagine a day when doctors don't just look for a heartbeat, but also assess for quantum consciousness, even after a flat line. Perhaps optogenetic techniques, or something even more advanced, could be used not just experimentally, but therapeutically, to help restore or stabilize awareness during those critical post-cardiac arrest moments. Organ donation protocols might need to be re-evaluated, with even greater care taken to ensure that no trace of residual consciousness, however subtle, is inadvertently disrupted. Palliative care could transform from simply easing physical pain to actively supporting and guiding the consciousness through this profound transition, acknowledging it as a journey rather than an annihilation. For you personally, this rethinking of death could influence your own end-of-life decisions and how you approach the concept of your mortality. Would you want your consciousness preserved, even if only temporarily, if such options became available? How might you prepare, mentally and spiritually, for a journey that extends beyond the known confines of your physical body? Philosophically, these scientific explorations breathe new life into age-old debates. René Descartes' famous mind-body dualism, the idea that the mind or soul is a non-physical substance distinct from the physical matter of the body, suddenly feels less like an archaic notion and more like a prescient hypothesis. If your mind, your awareness, is fundamentally a quantum pattern, then perhaps it truly isn't tethered to flesh and blood in the way we've always assumed. This begins to blur the often rigid line between hard science and spirituality. What if the concept of a soul, so central to many belief systems, is simply another term for this quantum information, eternal, unbound, and capable of existing independently of its temporary biological vessel? It's a question that invites you to delve deep within. What is it, truly, that makes you, you? Is it your body, your brain, your memories, or something more fundamental and enduring? Let's bring this discussion right down to the most personal level. Death is, for many, humanity's oldest and greatest fear, the ultimate unknown, the perceived erasure of self. But what if, as these theories suggest, it's not the definitive end we've been taught to dread? The mere possibility that your consciousness, your essential self, might persist beyond the demise of your physical body could profoundly ease that primal anxiety. Grief, too, that heavy cloak of sorrow we wear when we lose someone dear, might soften, transform. It wouldn't negate the pain of physical separation, but it could imbue it with a sense of continuity, a belief that our loved ones continue their journey in some form, on some other plane of existence. Funerals and memorial services could evolve, from somber goodbyes into celebrations of transition. Rituals designed not just to mourn a loss, but to honor and perhaps even assist a consciousness as it embarks on its next phase. Imagine the act of writing a letter, not just to your past self, but to your future self, the one who will exist beyond this current life, carrying your essence into whatever comes next. However, this new frontier also comes with a complex tapestry of ethical dilemmas. If consciousness can indeed be preserved, extended, or transferred, who gets access to these technologies? Will immortality, in whatever form it takes, become a privilege of the wealthy, creating an even deeper chasm between haves and have-nots? And what about the nature of identity itself? If your unique quantum pattern is meticulously mapped and uploaded to a supercomputer, or transferred to a cloned body, is that truly you? Or is it, as we pondered earlier, a sophisticated echo, a digital ghost that only believes it's you? These are not just abstract quandaries for philosophers. They are potential societal challenges we will need to confront as technologies like optogenetics and advanced quantum computing mature. For now, they are deeply personal questions to wrestle with. How far would you be willing to go to preserve your essence? What does immortality truly mean to you if it involves such a radical transformation of your being? So, where does all this leave us? Here's the most vital takeaway. Whether death is a final curtain or an open door, the implication for how we live now is remarkably similar. If your consciousness is indeed a quantum traveler, destined to explore infinite realities, then every moment, every choice, every interaction is a chance to shape the universes you will inhabit. Live with courage, love with abandon, create with passion. Treat every decision not as a triviality, but as a brushstroke on an infinite, ever-expanding canvas. And if death is merely a pause, a transition, then approach it not with debilitating fear, but with a spirit of profound curiosity. What incredible adventure awaits on the other side? For you, this means fully embracing the vibrant, messy, beautiful present. Take that risk you've been hesitating over. Mend that relationship that's been fractured by misunderstanding. Chase that dream that sets your soul on fire. If you are, in some fundamental way, eternal, then every action you take, every kindness you offer, every piece of wisdom you gain, ripples across countless realities, shaping the ongoing saga of you. And even if you remain skeptical, even if you believe this life is all there is, the advice remains the same. Live as if this is your one precious, unrepeatable shot at existence, and make every single moment count. Pour your heart into it. Leave no stone unturned, no song unsung. What are your thoughts on all of this? Is death a doorway to another reality, a complex simulation finally ending, or something else entirely? Something our current understanding can't even begin to grasp? I'm genuinely fascinated to hear your perspectives, your hopes, your fears. Please share them in the comments below. And if this exploration has shifted your view of life, death, and the universe even a little, I invite you to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell. Next week, we're going to dive even deeper, exploring the revolutionary potential of quantum computing in the quest to decode the very nature of consciousness itself. Could your mind, your essence, one day reside within the circuits of a supercomputer? You won't want to miss that. Thank you for joining me on this mind-expanding journey. I wish you vibrant health, boundless curiosity, and a life lived to its absolute fullest. Until next time.